Well, welcome to this gathering, to satsang. It's a place of exploration, and any questions that you have, there are no bad questions. Any question that you have is available for us to look at it together. So in satsang, we look without relying on the mind. There is a looking that comes from presence. It's a listening. It's a quality of being that is innate, that is inherent to our true nature, inherent to what we are, inherent to consciousness, which is a quality of being, a quality of openness that can perceive and explore, bypassing the complications of the mind. When I refer to the mind in some of my discourses, I am very specifically referring to the identification of consciousness, myself, with a body-mind, with an object, with a form. Before the mind gets on board, there is presence. Before the me and the world and thought comes on board, there is a ground of being that is effortlessly there. The mind is unaware of this ground of being, of presence. The mind has a tendency to travel out through the senses, to move away from or towards objects, away from or towards experiences, away from or towards perceptions. And is unaware of the presence of beingness, of the peace and tranquility of presence that does not move, that lacks nothing, that is seeking nothing. So the seeking activity of the mind and the avoiding activity of the mind is secondary to presence. Movement is secondary to stillness. And what's very lovely about presence and stillness is that it is effortlessly available. It is effortlessly given to us. It is effortlessly what we are. Before the mind moves, before the movements of the mind, is the stillness. And the impressions that we experience in the mind are impressions of insufficiency, impressions of lack, and impressions that something urgent is needed to be done in order to secure our peace and happiness. And this impression is in itself the unhappiness, is in itself unsettling. And gives the impression that through certain doing, through certain thought activity, or through certain actions, we will be able to secure the peace and happiness that we seek. But as we all know, when we pursue thought and pursue all sorts of actions out in the world, in experiences, in situations and memories, accumulating experiences, polishing our experiences, pursuing relationships, trying to improve in the world, soon enough we come to a dead end. We realize that the mind is constantly manufacturing more and more objectives, that the mind is constantly complaining about what is gifted to it, wanting things to be different. It is this constant wanting and constant dissatisfaction with what is unfolding on the screen that maintains the mind seeking more and more, further and further. Maybe a bigger house, maybe a better relationship, maybe a better experience. Maybe I can hold on to the enlightenment that I had 2 years ago. And at some point, we come to an exhaustion, the mind exhausting itself in pursuing happiness, in pursuing experiences that promising happiness in the world, body, mind. And at that moment, we are open to the unknown. The knowing mind comes to a standstill. The standstill is a revelation of the presence, of the stillness that all along is there, all along, throughout the entire journey of pursuit. Awareness, consciousness, presence is there. The mind is not privy to it. The mind does not know it. The only way the mind can come to presence is through the stillness of the mind. It is only through the stillness of the mind that the mind can come to dissolve in the self. Shanti, maybe you can mute your mic for the time being. Okay, there is a question from Stephen. Stephen asks, how does prayer fit into non-dualism? It seems prayer is from the mind and ego and only reinforces the ego. That is not necessarily true, Stephen. There is a prayer that comes from the ego, which is sort of going to church on Sunday, being sort of trained and brought up through your culture to pray. I was brought up this way, and I'm sure many of us were brought up to pray because praying for God will secure you a seat in heaven, or can fulfill some of your wishes and dreams. Maybe you pray to God for your parents, or you pray to Jesus, or to whatever religion you pray for, in order to attain certain goals. There's also prayer that for enlightenment. We pray in order to be enlightened. We pray in order to be closer to God. So there are times, I don't know whether you had this experience, Stefan, I surely did, but there are times in your life where there is a sort of a call to God, a call to the unknown. It's as if you're basically sort of, you come to a dead end in your life, and you ask for help, and this cry for help comes from a deeper place than just praying in order to get a better house or to get a better job. If prayer speaks to you, resonates for you, and it's part of your contemplation, then there is something in it for you, and it will take you home. Of course, the highest prayer is that of surrender to presence, surrendering to the self, being in full openness to the self, meaning you are not following thoughts. So the highest form of prayer is the stillness of presence. It's not praying to something or praying to somebody. It is a recognizing that the path to the self, to the path to God, is not through the mind. And once you recognize that, then you remain in the stillness of the self, in the stillness of presence. That is a high form of prayer. Rather than feeding the mind and pursuing the mind, thought, rather than pursuing thought or pursuing experiences, you remain in the stillness of presence. So you're not praying for somebody, or you're not praying for someone. It's a prayer as a total surrender, but it's not a resignation. It's a willing to be still with whatever is unfolding on the screen. You have to be willing to do that no matter what the consequences are. In other words, you're not pursuing a goal, because what sort of stillness would it be if you are doing it in order to get a reward? It's very important that in your stillness, you are in complete surrender, in complete silence, without a begging bowl. No begging bowl. No expected reward, because the reward is always for the mind. The reward is always for the person. And the reward that the person gets maintains the person, reinforces the person. And whenever you are reinforcing the person, you are moving away from God. Because God is not a person. God is everyone and everything, not any one person. Also, prayer should not be habitual. It's not a practice. It's you pray in this moment, in this instant is the prayer. It is a creation in this moment of your commitment to the self. It's not something you're repeating. So when your gaze, your attention, your focus is in the right direction, then all your actions, everything that's going to unfold in your life is going to follow your intention. If your intention is a personal intention, then your life is going to have that quality of personal me, and not him, not that, not that. It's going to be an isolated, unhappy experience. But if your focus is on the self, the truth, the reality, then all your thoughts and all your interest is onto the self. Everything that happens in your life will be a stimulation to enforce and fortify your exploration and your contemplation of the self. Because your gaze is not outward, it's not onto the world, body, mind, it is inward.
Magdi?
Yes, Lee.
I have a question if you want to ready to
Sure.
move on.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I know how you say, like, if you have any glimpses into the reality of who we are, don't make the me make too big of a deal of it, because then that's just reinforcing the me again, and that's not what we're after here, correct?
Yes. A glimpse into reality, into our true nature, into the self, into God, into the absolute, is the mind is not privy to it. The mind is not there. When reality reveals itself, when consciousness reveals itself, it reveals its absolute and only reality. It reveals its reality as being the only reality, the one reality. And the mind is not there, because the mind is a different reality. The reality of the mind is that the world, the experiences are real. The tree is real. The house is real. My thought is real. My body is real. That's the mind. Sort of, you could just look at the mind as trying to sort of overtake the reality of consciousness or create a dual reality. Some folks speak of the reality of the mind and the reality of God, or the reality of the mind and the reality of consciousness. But in your contemplation, you will find that whenever there is a revelation of the self, there is no me. There is no person. So how can a person that is absent say anything about the self, about consciousness? It is rubbish. It is just an attempt or a habitual tendency of the separate self to reaffirm itself by saying, "Aha, I had an awakening experience." So it makes a whole statement about it, and of course it believes its statements, and it feels, as a result of this statement that it's making, that I had an enlightenment experience, then it will feel that yes, there is something special that happened to me, and therefore I need to recapture it, or I need to have it, I need to hold on to it, I need to polish it, I need to, etc. I need to cater to it. But in fact, the revelation of the self, the revelation of consciousness, reveals that the the me identity, the me character, that basically is this sense of somebody, a person that is living in a world, having personal experiences. All of that is just a dream. In a moment, in a flash, you just see that, wait a minute, it's as if you wake up from a dream, for a moment. Of course, you might go back to the dream, who knows? But at that moment, there is the character of the dream is no longer, is not there. It's like if you are dreaming that that there is a herd of pink elephants, and that you are riding one of those pink elephants, or that you are a pink elephant. When you wake up, there is a noise, and you wake up from your night dream. In that instant, there is no pink elephant. There is a realization that, oh, I'm, Mehdi, in bed. I'm just dreaming. You see, it's not the pink elephant that you mistook yourself to be that is having this experience of awakening. The,
Mm-hmm.
the dream character does not have any experience. The dream character is dreamt.
That's what happened. There was the character was seen as external object, just like anything else.
Yes.
And the me was there. And the thing that's confusing is, I'm trying not to question too much, because I know questions never really lead anywhere for the most part, as far as the mind questions. But, I saw that dream character clearly. And then, through, I guess, being excited about it, or, I'm sorry, I guess I wasn't excited, but excitement arose. The character came back, and, and I'm wondering, what the process is. I guess I don't even know if there is a process, but you know what I'm getting at, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you see, the me character exists, or the impression of the me, of the I character, the me, requires time. I'm happening in time. I am progressing in time. I am regressing in time. It's a movement in time. So the experience, I've had an experience, and it's an experience in time. That's how the me impression is. The me impression is an impression in time. But the actuality of your experience is this right now. It's not in time. So you could say that the impression of time arises in you as a thought. For example, you remember you woke up this morning and you had breakfast and so on. These memories, these thoughts arise in you. You perceive them when they arise. You perceive them, and they give an impression of time. But the impression of time arises in you. You don't move. You, the you that is hearing these words right now, that is not in time. time is in you, in a way. I'm just sort of using that language. The impression of time, or the impression of an experience, or a memory, which is a thought, or a feeling, or a sensation, rises in you and dissolves in you. But you don't arise and you don't dissolve. So why, of what use is it for you that do not arise and do not dissolve to hold on to any image or any sensation or any thought or any perception that is arising in you? What for? What for? You don't need to, you see. You don't need to. The body, that organism, knows how to take care of when it's hungry, it look for food. When it's tired, it look for the soonest opportunity it can get some rest. But you, that witnesses, that perceives a perception, or that perceives a thought, or that perceives a sensation, that hears these words right now. Of what use is it for you that does not move, to reach out for anything? It's a good question, no?
Yeah, I mean, when I don't even know what you call it. When I was there, I guess I can say there, wherever, when I was that, I wasn't reaching for anything, obviously. I mean, the character didn't, there was no really even major concern about it.
Yeah, right. Well, you see, when you were there in that experience of presence or revelation of consciousness, you were not there.
True.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. It was
because
very beautiful.
presence is your absence. Right now, in this very moment, you hear these words and you're not there. You, meaning you, the person, is not there, but consciousness is, you see? Consciousness is that hears these words, you see?
Yes.
So that there is right here, right now. This consciousness is not there.
Yeah,
You
I want
could
to make
say,
sure the there that was there also seemed like it was always here. So I don't want to make it out that it was an experience, because it seemed familiar too, like it was always here.
absolutely.
Just a little bit different way of seeing it.
Yeah. Well, consciousness is our most, you could say, most common experience, if you want to put it this way. Of course, words are not, cannot be so complete, but we know consciousness more than we know anything else, because that's what we are. We are consciousness. So when you attach yourself, when you get attached to a beautiful sunset, then the whole day you are, because of your attachment to the beautiful sunset, the whole day you are thinking about this beautiful sunset, and it seems that your day is less beautiful, less happy, because of your attachment to the beautiful sunset. But you see, the love of the beautiful sunset that you enjoyed was so lovely, and it's lovely because at that moment of enjoyment and celebration of the beautiful sunset, there was no holding on, there was no borders, there was not a box where you wanted to take that beautiful sunset and put it in the box. But as soon as you want to take this beautiful sunset and package it for yourself, it's not that beautiful anymore.
No.
Because there is all sorts of concerns about, oh my God, how long will I be able to hold on to it? Did I get the whole thing? It's a totally different experience. You see, the experience of beauty and love and happiness and freedom, the mind is not there. And what's so lovely is that in this very moment, whatever it is that hears these words is consciousness. It is consciousness that hears these words. You are conscious of hearing these words. There is an understanding, there is a hearing, there is a knowingness that's effortless. The mind doesn't need to sit down and think and say, oh, wait a minute, I need to figure out if I'm hearing these words or not. I need to figure out if I'm conscious or not. No, you don't. It's an effortless quality of presence and being. But the key thing is the mind comes in and makes something that I need to get. I need to get that beautiful sunset again. That's so then I am going to spoil the party, you see. Spoil the party because the party is going on. You see, that's what's beautiful. The party is going on.
Yes.
We are like we are in the Garden of Eden. We are at the party. But when we bring into the party pooper, the mind that says, oh, well, I need to get this and that and that, I need to have this experience that I had yesterday, and so on and so forth, then it is the sense of lack that is going to get downloaded.
Oh, yeah.
So over and over, it is important to notice that tendency of the mind. It's a habit, the habitual tendency of the mind that wants to come on board. And you have to say no to it. You have to say, I recognize you. You are passing through here. All the walls and the doors are open. So this memory or this sensation arises, but we have no issue. We have no issue. That's the way you say no to it. By holding on to the contraction and trying to fix it or trying to repair it, or by following the train of thought, pum pum pum, it's as if you are constricting the openness. So remain in and as the openness that you already are.
Okay.
So when a memory of a past experience arises, okay?
Yeah.
Allow it to just come into the openness that you are. Because the revelation of consciousness reveals that first you are consciousness and not a man or a woman. And that this consciousness that you are is pure, borderless presence, borderless openness, edgeless presence. Remain as that. Remain as the open, borderless presence of consciousness. Trust God for the rest of the show. Trust consciousness to take care of the show. Because you, meaning you as a personal self, do not decide anything. Only it is consciousness that is the player, if you want to use that term. It's the only player in town.
Yes.
It creates the galaxies, the weather, oak trees and maple trees, and men and women. It creates goats and cats and dogs. It's just amazing. It's astonishing. It's astonishing. It's very lovely. But they're like dreams. They come and go. Bodies come and go. Sceneries come and go. Weathers come and go. Why not? Who cares? Because you're none of that. You are the consciousness that's appearing as all of that. There's a freedom in that.
Mm-hmm. Total. Thank you.
As soon as we're pursuing an experience, we are narrowing the field. Why?
Habit.
Yeah, habit. You do it, you narrow the field, you go, 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 like the horse races, you know? You go, 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 go. In the end, what?
Nothing.
Back to the stable for the next race, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
Just habit. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very clear that leads nowhere.
Yes. So it's no need to narrow the field. Yeah. You see, so when there is an emotion of fear, allow it. Allow the emotion to just in the open space, the openness that you are. Do not define yourself by any emotion. No emotion defines you. It appears to you. It appears to you. So if it appears to you, that means there is the emotion, sensation, and there is you that is perceiving that. Like this image right now of the screen is appearing to you. You are not the screen, you're perceiving, you're witnessing the screen. See? How can anything that you perceive define you? It does not define you. Nothing defines you, because what you are is not something that's appearing. Everything that is defined is something that is appearing. A chair, a tree, a river, a man, a woman, etc. is something that is appearing. A thought, a feeling, a sensation, pain in the shoulder is something that is appearing. Whatever is appearing, none of it is defining you. You do not appear. And yet, you are the reality of all that appears, because even when what appears disappears, you still are. When a thought appears, you are. When a thought disappears, another thought comes, you are. When second thought disappears and there is no thought, you still are. You see? You follow?
Yes.
Even in your
I'm
deep
there
sleep,
every moment.
you are. Yes. Yes. And yet you are not a form. You see? You are not some manifestation. You are the unmanifest. And that's the reality of all seeming manifestation. Because that is the eternal. That is what remains. That is what is real. What is real does not come and go. You see? What is real is constant, eternal. Yes. It does not come and go. And bodies come and go. But when you believe you are the body, then you believe that you are going to come and go. You are going to be born, you are born, you're going to die. Why? Because you believe that you are the body. You see? But the body appears to you. It appears to you as perception, as sensation, as memory. You know, you can remember when you were 12 years old, for example. You see? Or as perception, if you look at your hand or if you look at yourself in the mirror, it appears to you. You that does not appear. You, consciousness that does not appear. You see what I mean?
Yeah, so the more and more I go to who I am as consciousness, just the belief of me become less and less.
Yes.
Is that the process?
Absolutely. 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 Until it becomes established for you.
I think that was the main, for a minute I thought maybe it was established, but of course it was just a glimpse. Yes. And then I was like, okay, so, but I think I think like just like you just said, I think the more and more I do it, the more and more little glimpses I see. So just keep going to that. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah. Well, first, the glimpse reveals that you are not a man or a woman or an object. That there is consciousness and you are this consciousness. It's that is undisputably settled. That, oh, I am consciousness. But then there is the impression that this consciousness is personal. I am consciousness, this consciousness is personal. So contemplate that whatever it is that hears these words right now, not only is consciousness, but it has no borders. Look at the consciousness. Go to whatever it is that hears these words and ask yourself, okay, where does this consciousness, this awareness start? Where does it end? What size does it have? What density does it have? Do this contemplation in order to become clear that not only there is consciousness that hears these words, but this consciousness has no form, no weight, no size, no density, no viscosity. It's therefore, how can it be personal? Because personal means it's contained in some form. It has to have some form. Person A, person B, person C, person D, you see?
Oh, yeah.
So that's an important contemplation. The other I'd like to add is in abiding as consciousness, you already are that. So rather than abiding as consciousness, because that's already what you are, whenever you are going to uh, uh, reverting, let me use that word, reverting to being this person, this man, this woman, that's when you release that thought, and you have to detect it. You have to detect it. If you don't detect it, okay, well, you don't detect it. But if you detect it, which would be really lovely for you to detect it, and that radar will develop on its own. You don't need to oh, Dolores, if you can lower your volume, please, sweetie.
Okay.
Thank you. So that is effortless. You see that detection, that discrimination, will effortlessly unfold for you. One moment, let me just see.
Yeah.
One moment.
You got me?
No, I still have you. Oh, I think it's a little bit better now, Dolores. Let me see. Can you hear me?
Me?
Yes, yes.
No, I couldn't hear you before. I hear you now. I'm trying to turn down.
Okay, Dolores, I think you did it. Beautiful. As I was saying, Ali, so it's important to detect the me when it comes on board. You know, going back to being you, and notice that it arises as thought. Okay. It arises as thought and it arises as a as a sensation. I have to attend to something. I'll be right back.
No problem.
Okay, Lee, are you on board here? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so it's when you deconstruct the experience, the me experience, you can deconstruct it as first the belief. It's falling back into the habitual belief that things are happening to me, and notice that belief being on board. If you don't notice it, then it's just operating without you noticing it, and there is not much you can do. But as soon as you notice it, you're already in the presence, because it is not the mind that notices that, it is presence that notices that notices the me quality. And also turn your attention to the sensation. Notice how the body is also doing a me thing. The body is contracting as a Lee, as what's happening to me. Why is this happening to me? It's a sensation in the body. It's important that you notice both the mental the conceptual quality, as well as noticing the the sensation at the body level. And then you are in the noticing. Notice that you are in the noticing. To say when you are noticing, there is a shift that's happening already. You just need to recognize it. That's already happened, and that noticing is not a person noticing. It's consciousness being in the forefront. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Was a question from Shanti. Shanti, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, hello, Shanti.
Hello.
Yes, there's a question that you sent me a minute ago. There is an echo. Let me see. So I'm going to read your question, Shanti. It says, I am curious if we are that, meaning we are consciousness, are we creating ourselves as that, the experiences we live? If so, can we learn how to recreate or create those experiences in a more conscious way? I'm going to reread that. If we are that, are we creating ourselves as that, the experiences we live? If so, can we learn how to recreate or create those experiences in a more conscious way? So, Shanti, the revelation that I am that, meaning that I am consciousness, when there is still a trace of personhood, of me, then there is still the impression of a local, personal quality to this consciousness. The consciousness creates and experiences all creations and all experiences. And its creations are not apart from it, they're not separate from it. So it's creating out of itself. So given that it's creating out of itself, it's not even creating, because it doesn't bring anything out of itself. Nothing is brought out of consciousness to be created as separate from consciousness. So in a way, consciousness is not creating anything. The whole concept of creation has a mind quality to it. And has a time quality to it. Has an impermanence quality to it. So consciousness really doesn't give a hoot about creating. The whole affair of creation has a mind quality to it. Having said that, the realization of the awakening, or the understanding that I am consciousness, and that this consciousness is not personal. There are no, it's a borderless presence. It's a universal presence. It's the light shining, and whatever seems to appear is made out of the light itself. It's reverberations of the light. There are no external objects that the light of consciousness shines onto. That realization reveals the perfume of peace, freedom, beauty, happiness, wisdom, intelligence. These are the say like inherent the inherent qualities of consciousness is causeless love, beauty, peace, happiness, and freedom. So the dream shifts from an unhappy dream to a happy dream. One moment. No. So the more conscious way of how the dream is sort of created is the perfume of consciousness permeates the dream. And the dream becomes a happy, peaceful, loving, lovely. So yes, the dream does shift. That's very crucial, like the Buddha talked about, that it's about the end of suffering, the end of ignorance and the end of suffering. It's a whole journey of contemplation and meditation and exploration is about the end of suffering, and the end of suffering sweetens the dream.
So it sweetens the dream, but still it is a dream.
Yeah, the dream does not end. Why should it?
When you say about the dream, what are you talking about? I mean, what is the dream?
I'm talking about
This life.
the thoughts, sensations, perceptions, this waking dream, what we refer to as the waking dream.
Okay.
I mean, this image is on the screen, so consciousness continues to play, but it's a sweet play.
Okay. But you're conscious that it's a play.
Yes, you're conscious that it's a play, and you're conscious that it's a very sweet play.
And when there is no sweetness, it means you're out of the...
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of like the indication when you're in or out.
Yes.
Okay.
The peace. One moment. He has to call Ra. Can you pick him up? Tell him call Ra. Tell him. Yeah, it's the peace, the freedom, the happiness that's causeless, Shanti. Meaning, it's not depending on anything.
Okay.
When you are in the unhappiness, you are in the personal self, you are in the dream character, you are the man, the woman, the father, the mother, the employee, the boss, the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
An object, a form in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Immortal form in the world.
Yeah. So the curiosity I have, I guess, is I'm not sure how to put it, because there's a way in which you can influence the happening through the mind. Yet, like I was in a discussion in which they were talking about how, we are not making decisions because they made these experiments and with these machines, and it seems like when you choose something, the machine knows what are you going to choose like 7 seconds before you choose, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Still, there is an influence of the mind and the things that happen us. So I'm kind of curious about how can one influence the happenings around ourselves using the mind as a tool.
Mm-hmm. Well, ask yourself what influences the mind. For example,
Then, like the mind, independently of what comes in the mind, it's also part of consciousness.
yes, whatever arises in the mind, whatever we refer to as the mind is an arising. So the mind is an arising, meaning a thought, a sensation, a perception, a memory. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the mind. The mind is a perception, a thought. So that is perceived. So therefore, there is something that is larger than it, that perceives it. Yeah. So that you could say there is a larger cause. There is a larger unmanifest cause that is behind the appearance of the mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you want to figure out how to use the mind in order to whatever you have in mind to do, then you have to go to the primordial cause.
Mm-hmm.
See, so from the mind level, it's already too late. In other words, it's already been manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to if you want to affect the experiences of the mind, can you please make sure your mics are muted or lower your volume on your mics? We're picking up some distortion. So if you want to do any exploration at the mind level, you have to go to the pre-mind level. You have to go to the causal level. You follow?
Yes, but how do you do that?
Well, you contemplate the source, meaning rather than working with thought, you turn your attention to presence. You go to the stillness. You go to the silence. You go to the unmanifest. You go to it as kind of a way of speaking. You actually don't go anywhere, because the unmanifest, the screen presence already is there right now. Without presence, there wouldn't be this conversation. But it's turning your attention in a way to the source, to the presence.
Yeah, I guess it's because, usually we live life with a mind that is a little bit crazy, yeah? And usually the mind, instead of helping us, kind of makes us feel things that are not existing, etc., etc., everything that we do usually. But I was thinking, there is a point in which maybe we can use the mind in the opposite direction. When you're conscious of it and when you're aware of the thoughts that are going through, and maybe you can direct them in a way that is healthy and that can contribute to life and to manifest that beauty that you're talking about.
You you can only direct a herd of goats from the shepherd. Only the shepherd can direct the herd of goats. The
That's a nice.
goats cannot direct themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So the shepherd is in the silence and the stillness.
Yes.
Okay.
So if the mind, you turn your mind back to the source, you turn the mind back rather than trying to sort of figure how the mind can lead to a better mind experience.
Mm-hmm.
Find the source of the mind. That is not a mind event.
Mm-hmm.
All mind events are appearances. They are perceived. Whether they are thoughts, perceptions, sensations, they're perceived. The source is what perceives and is not perceived.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than living at the mind level, live at the source level, live at the stillness, live at the presence, which means don't move away from yourself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you,
You
Matt.
will not find yourself in the mind. And what you are looking for is yourself. you will not find yourself in the mind. No matter how great the technique is, no matter how refined the technique is, you will not. Because you are not findable. You already are yourself. And that revelation is not a mind revelation. It's the stillness of the mind that reveals the infinity and eternity of presence and the borderless quality of presence and the impersonal quality of presence. Everything that occurs at the mind level is at the personal level.
Okay.
Until you realize yourself, then the mind level is impersonal, becomes impersonal. Such as the weather. But above all, it becomes peaceful, happy, and celebratory.
Thank you, Magdi. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. I think there is a saying, be still and know thyself. Any questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, Magdi.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Magdi.
Peace. Okay, thank you. Take care,
Bye.
Linda. Okay, goodbye, everybody.